There's a lot of searching for home.
The Harfoots aren't lost, they just don't actually have a home.
That's right, Nori will be the one to create the Shire. I love the show.
It's not about finding what is already out there for them, it's about creating it and building it. And this is a really big realization she has in this season.
But as Rings of Power is taking Tolkien's work and instead showing it through a female lens, everyone just gets obsessed with shipping and seduction.
You seduce us with the music, with Anatar.
That's the danger, is that he is so seductive.
He's just so hot, how could I resist evil?
We are close now, Celebrimbor. So close.
The lost king who could ride you to victory.
It was exactly the same way in The Acolyte, something that Rings of Power mimics in this episode. While I appreciate the role reversal of Miriel going into the ocean, I don't think anyone was going, "Go on, Miriel, out for the lads."
Throbbing.
Nobody wanted this with Miriel.
He steps forward with the sunlight accentuating his taut muscles.
But apparently that scene was incredibly difficult to shoot for this director.
Trial by Abyss was a big feat.
This shot was the height of ambition for her.
To do anything with such ambition requires...
And when you hear the problems she had to deal with, you can understand why her competence was challenged.
It was challenging yesterday because it was completely wavy and the tide was in. So now it's like baby bathwater and very safe.
It was so difficult yesterday. The ocean was going whoosh, whoosh. And now, let's just flatten it. Yeah, the challenge she had was waiting. Patience. Probably not used to using patience herself. Generally preferring to test the patience of others. But join me as we venture into the realm of evil Barbie Sauron and try and answer the question, why is everybody in this show retarded? We start with the few remaining trees of England that Amazon didn't chop down. No, seriously, people were pissed. Arendelle is running through the forest. I don't really know why. I think they realise he's barely been in the season, so we should probably give him something to do. He hears two orcs.
I don't care what they call us. Anything's better than dying out Adard.
Hears them say they're deserters and hides. He's so brave. I don't know how he manages it. He's literally letting him walk off until one of them outsmarts him. Let's face it, not hard. I don't even know what that was. I'm not even sure a spin kick carries more weight than just standing there. Either way. He takes out him with an arrow, the other guy with swords. And that's basically his part for the episode. I can understand why in the interviews he was talking about, yeah, you know, a lot of your favorite characters won't be in this season.
Every show needs to park themselves in certain characters per season.
But please watch.
But it's so rich. Like every moment is rich. It is important. Yeah. You don't need to be in every scene to feel that moment still like reverberating.
Celebrimbor, though, is still pissed because despite him and Sauron going at it like rabbits, they can't make the rings for men for some reason.
The rings of men. Why do you still defy me?
Because you're trying to change how they were being made. You had rings that work, and now like, well, we're going to make the same rings, but with an entirely different method.
Possess not mind nor will that you resist my hand.
Why is there a mouse in your pissing forge? And why is it trying to eat metal shavings? How come I'm the only one in this scene that's concerned with a mouse just running around the forge? You animals. But he instructs all the craftsmen we need to make the rings again. This time use more silver, more mithril. But we're out of mithril. The dwarves aren't delivering their shipments and the workers can't be bothered to fix it.
Dispatches go unanswered.
Must I do everything myself?
And for some reason they think this is a good response.
We are labouring as hard as we can.
You're pissing jewelers. I don't even know why you've got crap on your face. This isn't like you're farming or making armor. You're making tiny little intricate rings. Firstly, it's not hard work. Secondly, you're not even making any pissing rings. I don't actually know what you're doing. Is it because you put so many women in the forge they just start standing around having meetings all day? We could make the rings, but firstly, we've got to have a meeting about health and safety. Somebody put that pissing anvil in the ceiling last week.
Look out!
Some of us have noticed you seem especially ill-tempered.
Oh god, here we go. It's not what you said, it's the way you said it. She's gonna start tone policing because he raised his voice a couple of decibels. Can't stand the heat, get out the pissing forge. You can't do your work because you're too busy trying to shag Sauron, that's your fault, love. It's no one else's fault for shouting at you about it. Ask not, is he allowed to shout at me? Ask if I deserve it.
My lord.
That might be my favourite acting he's ever done. Like, oh? And who do you think you are, madam? Go on, throw her out a window. Celebrimbor, though, bit of an odd response.
What is your name again, Smith?
entirely changes the subject. And I think that really is the key difference between the two of us. He can't remember and I don't care. But she's amazed because he can't remember, and we're like, can't be the first time it's ever happened in your life, love. All you've done entire series is just stand around doing nothing. As far as the plot's concerned, there's no difference between you and that table.
Give me a moment.
Lord Celebrimbor.
Give me a moment, I said!
Someone feed him a Snickers. But Sauron sends them out, and that's basically going to be the key decision of the entire episode. From this point on, we are riding a low IQ wave straight into the floor. Kind of makes this statement more funny.
It's literally telling you he has conducted the events that are unfolding.
You know, Sauron planned for them all to be retard. Celebrimbor's realizing, though, that his memory is playing tricks on him. I left my hammer here. It's not here, and then Sauron makes it appear for him. He's essentially gaslighting him into thinking that his memory is fine.
Creasing hammer, just here.
You mean that hammer?
Yes. My mind must be going.
That's because Sauron f***ed his brains out.
Or you were going so deep into it. Coming out again has become an incredible burden.
I'm sorry. Your mind's fine, Celebrimbor. You've just left it inside me because you went too deep. We both know you have a problem with coming out. Have you told Medania or a couple yet? Please don't. I'm trying to get with her as well.
I didn't become a little bit of a slag. I became a total slag.
So deep.
So deep. So deep and seductive.
I imagine at times you must be tempted simply to stay there a while.
You're so deep. You're so deep, you must want to stay there. Just leave it there. So warm and cozy in there, it must feel like home.
Gain some clarity.
As I realise what I've done with my life.
I am well.
Sauron tells him, though, you're a leader of a region. Your people need your attention. They require an audience.
You have responsibilities.
Yes, and my greatest responsibility is to the rings.
None of this makes sense. In the last episode, he didn't even want to make rings for men. And then when he found out he made evil rings, he decided to make more evil rings. And now he's like, the only thing I can possibly do is make the rings. There is no reason for him to be this one-minded and so obsessed. And you can argue that, it's Sauron's influence. Be nice to see it then, wouldn't it? Be nice if they put that in the show. We haven't seen Sauron influence him, just talk to him. Give him the odd imaginary hammer.
Until the 9 are complete, nothing else matters.
That doesn't matter though, because now Celebrimbor is just obsessed for no reason whatsoever. Celebrimbor not willing to rule Region, or willing to go and sort out the Mithril. Instead, Sauron ends up with the job. They're like, he manipulated. He didn't. Celebrimbor did it voluntarily. Sauron is telling him to rule a Region, and he's like, no. Sauron is literally telling him to do something that would be for his own benefit, and it's Celebrimbor who's deciding not to. Everything is backwards.
He asks that I handle all matters of administration in his stead.
Well, that was lucky. Didn't even require any manipulation, and it's perfectly timed.
It's to be at issue.
Show him.
Show me what?
No more than that. Why are you giving instructions? Why are you giving orders to a guard? You're just a smith's assistant. You have no power here. You're a literal nobody. Why do you think you can give orders to my god, peasant?
This gatehouse is typically a throng with artisans and merchants.
Why are you telling me about it? I want to hear from the guard, who's trained in this kind of thing. I don't think I need advice from my jeweler. Yes, today we're going to be invading France. I need strategies about the military, and for that, I can only consult the baker. You've been making donuts for 20 years. What do you think about our military strategy? Do you want to know the best thing about donuts? They're like a ring. Don't give me that. That's about the amount of effort that goes into this show. One guy from a patrol returned with a message carved into his chest.
Shall I inform Lord Celebrimbor?
No.
What? Shall I inform the lord of this town that an army of orcs lays across the river? No. Nah, just ignore him. It's fine. He doesn't want to know.
He has asked me to see to it that no one is permitted to disturb him.
And obviously we're all going to obey Barbie Sauron. Sauron. He says, though, no one is to interrupt Celebrimbor. Not even the smiths. He's stripped you of your duties, which would just be more reason to go and talk to him about it. But of course Sauron knows that he looks like Barbie, and therefore she's easily manipulated. Sorry, seduced.
He is so seductive.
Total slag.
Oh, he's touched my hand. I know he's evil, but I would like to get Rogered behind the bike sheds.
Can I trust you? Make sure the others respect his wishes as well.
Of course, my lord.
What a stupid bit. Of course, my lord. Anything for you, my lord. Would you like me to bend over, my... Like, it's so stupid. These seem to be the trademarks of a femme-coded series. Everyone's an idiot, and they all want to bang evil. It's not my fault. I was seduced.
You seduce us with the music.
Yes.
How was I supposed to have control of my own behavior when he just looked at me that way? Oh.
What did it say?
Where is he?
He's inside me. Sauron, though, goes up to look at the orc army and smiles. And you're like, this doesn't even make any sense. I'm so pleased that the orcs are coming here to destroy the city where I need the rings to be made. Yeah, but why, though? He doesn't even have a reason for wanting the city destroyed. Over to Adar, who's got his orcs to do some fruit picking. Actually looks like quite the tasty meal, considering it was prepared by people who will eat their own relatives. Let's not think too hard about what the meat is, because we all know Galadriel doesn't care. Adalo says you're always interested in hunting Sauron like anybody who, he's wormed his way into their mind.
You yielded to him. I resisted.
No, you didn't. You created him. He just wanted to grill it like, go on, be evil. Urgh. But Adar sees the truth, and he realizes that Galadriel is just an evil cow. She always has been, and she always will be. That's why he gives her the speech.
For a while, he even makes you believe that his power has become yours.
Essentially tempting her with power. Haven't you always wanted power, Galadriel? Aren't you evil, Galadriel?
Irresistible power that makes every desire's fulfillment seem inevitable.
Don't you just want to crush people between your hands? Your bare hands, Galadriel? Do you want to fire lightning out of your fingertips, Galadriel?
An ocean of colour against which everything else feels forever thereafter.
A dull grey.
And she understands, because she also craves power. Unlimited power.
What did he promise you?
Children? No, that'd be a bit too traditional, wouldn't it?
An army.
That's right, Galadriel turned evil for an army. All she wanted in life was power and an army to tyrannize the innocent. What a lovely character. And in fact, we even get a little bit of role reversal.
Do you want to know what he offered me?
I care not.
Children.
See? Why would we care about the ideas of Tolkien when we can subvert with modernity? She wants an army and he wants kids. I see absolutely no problem here. He could stay at home with the baby and she could go to war. This makes sense. But they say it's not his lies you need to worry about. It's when he tells you the truth. We both got what we wanted, but it was dark.
What help could you possibly provide, Orc?
Well, he's got an army. What do you have?
Children.
He then pulls out the crown, explains it's Morgoth's crown, and as such, contains power. And it was that power which slayed Sauron, rather than just 6 orcs. Probably should have explained that at the start of the series. Just a thought.
Morgoth's crown.
I don't know why you're recoiling from that, evil love. You want an army, power, and Satan himself to impregnate you. You're way beyond cringing from a crown.
She's an elf disgrace.
It is said the 3 elven rings saved your kind from fading. Is it true?
Who cares if it's true? How do you know? You've marched from Mordor to here. How do you know the elves were fading? And how do you know they made 3 rings and cured themselves of it? It's just like, yeah, I just read it on Twitter earlier. You've just run across a forest. How do you have this information? He says, though, between the crown and your rings, maybe we could destroy Sauron permanently. Sauron thinks he's beyond my grasp, but I suspect he hides in Eregion, and I think you know for certain.
Halbrand is Sauron.
How do you know? This is wild. Last time he met or even heard about Halbrand, he was in Mordor under his control, and he let him go and come here. So why did he have him under his control, let him go so he could come to Eregion so that he could follow him to Eregion to kill him there when he's not under his control and has an elf army with him, compared to just killing him when he was under your control in Mordor if you knew all along? This doesn't make any sense.
Isn't he?
Why she not said we saw him go into Mordor and ask him why he didn't do anything? He tells her to save Eregion, you have to put aside your pride, and then goes to shackle her, and I don't know what's going on here, right? This closing mechanism is just a hole in a piece of metal and a stud. What? How does this lock? These are safety shackles. These are the kind of shackles you would use in acting so that everybody knows I'm not actually restrained, which is stupid. I think you probably should be physically restrained rather than have some like safety fake shackles. If you are going to have safety fake shackles, don't show us the closing mechanism. How did they seal? How were those things locked together? Makes no sense.
We will speak again.
I make such sparkly conversation, I have to handcuff women to the table to get them to stay. This is a first for Galadriel, normally it's the other way around. Over in Numenor now, Elendil is accused of being a traitor. There's penalty for which is death.
The crime of high treason. These hideous breaches of law.
I did think he said hideous creatures at first. I was like, that's no way to talk about his daughter. He offers him an out though. I will let you go free if you simply renounce your crimes and pledge allegiance to me as the rightful ruler.
And do you accept Ar-Pharazôn as Numenor's true king?
I do not.
That's because you're an idiot. There's literally nothing to gain here. He can say, I do not, and die, or he can say that he does, escape, and then do whatever he wants when he's outside. These are always the really stupid moments. No, I stand on my honor, and then just immediately get killed. How very useful you are as a leader to your people when you're dead.
True ruler, and to the end of her days, Miriel!
Except she's crap, to be honest. It's very difficult to care about this story when Miriel is pissing awful. No one could be loyal to somebody so incompetent, unless they were getting their end away anyway, which they also put in the stories, you know. She's a terrible ruler, but he will support her because the moist is always right.
The sea is always right! The sea is always right!
And the only traitor here is you.
It's really quite annoying because this show has some great actors, and Elendil is one of them. Just really hard to get invested in his story. I like both Elendil and Pharazôn, but them fighting over Miriel is laughable, and Elendil's daughter is insufferable. Just destroys any investment in the story.
Now what are we to do with him? You have done quite enough, boy.
There goes all the theories that he was just doing what Pharazôn told him. He was an inept arsehole, all of his own volition, which makes the end of the last episode even worse.
If the faithful wish to live by the old traditions, they ought to die by them as well.
They're gonna feed him to a fish. And yes, I'd love to live by old traditions. It's a shame you keep coming along and ruining them all. Over to the stranger now, and he keeps seeing visions of Nori in agony. That, or she's having the night of her life with Sauron. Everyone else in the series seems to be, so why not her?
Aye. Snoring? Who's snoring?
Hilarious.
Just tough. Bombadil informs him, though, there's a secret fire that gives him visions if you listen to it. Is that, I need to learn to control this power. You can't control the secret fire. This goes on for ages.
The secret fire whispers to us, if we have ears to hear.
Yeah, off up to top at farm. Cold as a quarkle.
Cold as a quilkin.
Cold as a quilkin.
It tells us things, even shows us things.
At my new combine harvester.
And will you marry me?
How do I learn to master its power? To fight back against the darkness?
What did the darkness ever do to you? Bombadil, though, really cuts to the core of the problem with this series.
Every trial that you've met thus far, you have failed.
True. What an absolutely useless tosser. I don't even know why he's in the series. He's utterly pathetic. Him and the Harfoots are utterly pointless and should never have been in the show.
Failed a trial before you now, and there will not be another.
Don't give me hope, Tom. Don't give me hope. Nori, though, is trying to convince all the stores that they should just run away and leave their homes. She's like, no, I've been here my entire life. This hole was dug for me.
Harfoots find a new place to live every month.
Oh no. Why every month? Is it because you're all such disgusting savages you just bleed all over the last one? Like, looks like someone's murdered a Harfoot again. It's time to move. They're just like little parasites that hop from host to host, destroying the areas that they leave.
I've been tending that tree since I was big enough to balance a rake.
Really? Doesn't look like you've got a particularly green thumb, love. That tree died a long time ago. I've been tending that tree since I was this tall. Yeah, but why is it rotting, though? Oh, no. That's not Gand's elf, is it?
I married my Bramgar in its shadow.
I married my husband under a dead tree. It was so romantic. Really sums up our marriage, it did.
And last spring, when he passed, I buried him under it.
I don't really blame him, to be honest. Can you imagine living around these people? Bet he was glad to get away.
Every one of these smeals has a story like that.
What? What are you doing to your husbands if they're all dying? Yeah, we all marry these men, then we bury them under that tree. What kind of story is this? We find out the stores all assassinate their husbands. I know that the Black Widow spider eats the male after mating, but that's a bit on the nose, isn't it, Amazon? Can't believe you do this. Actually, don't know why she's crying. She's like, yeah, I mean, I hit it with a hammer. Saddest day of my life.
Every one of these smeals has a story like that.
All I'm saying is if all your husbands keep dying, don't you think it might be your fault?
It's our home.
But she's teaching Nori the meaning of a home. This is our home. We can't leave it. What you need to go out is make one for yourself. You could set it in some greenlands by a river and call it the Shire or something, Nori.
It's me.
It's a home. It's me. I am the most important thing here. I am my home. Nora, though, is thinking that I can get us all out of it if I just hand myself in to the evil wizard. That'll work, I'm sure. Over to Dumb and Dumber now, whose offspring would be the densest thing known to man.
Why are you looking at me like that?
I was considering eating your face.
Thinking of asking, what with all of us maybe about be murdered and all, if you want to have a...
To be fair, that kind of chat-up line does work for James Bond, so we're all going to be dead in the morning, might as well bang me. I think Sauron uses that line as well.
Talking.
So we find out that both of them are easy. All it takes is some kind of vague sense of danger. Tell them that Rings of Power is getting a third season and they just start going at it like rabbits. I ship 'em!
Do you have lizard for supper?
You're going to have his lizard for supper.
Why do you ask?
It's a comedy, you see, I think. I'm just not sure it works when the funniest thing in this show is the showrunner's sense of morality.
I say we fight for it.
Oh, we're handing her a Gand. Now we just need an elf. Tom, though, has brought him to the same place where the Dark Wizard found his staff.
Which one is it?
Which Gand shall I choose, elf? It does turn out that a wizard staff could just be basically any tree. Just take him to a forest and make him pick a tree. This kind of lore is so fundamental to the Rings of Power, we had to have the stranger in the series with Tom Bombadil to teach us it. But he'll only find a staff when his heart aligns with the secret fire, and he realizes it would take him months, which means he has to choose between the staff or Nori. And Tom, well, he's not willing to have him stick around.
I could return to you.
No.
I've barely got enough patience for you now. You come back later, I'll probably be banging Sauron like everybody else.
He does slay in a certain way.
He does.
He does slay.
It's hard.
I'm hard as you.
Except it's not really much of a choice, is it?
Your friend or your destiny. The choice is yours.
He's already told him the secret flame was sending him the visions of Nori in trouble, which obviously means the secret flame wants him to go out and save Nori. It was Tom, who wasn't the secret flame, that brought him to a load of pissing trees in the first place. So obviously you just save Nori. She's got to invent the Shire. That means she's important. Tom, though, just vanishes, ditching the hobo in his bathrobe. Over the dwarves now, who are pouring gold onto the floor. And that's not the only gold. We've also got another pile over here. All done in front of his throne. I hope we can remember that for at least 30 seconds. Because in comes his son. And I have to ask, where did all the gold go? Oh, we get a view behind him. There's no pissing gold on the way to his throne. And they're like, oh yeah, but there's gold behind his throne. But all that was there in this scene as well. If it was just going to be piled next to him, why did you show it him tipping it on the floor? Yes, these are the kind of things that annoy me, because I'm a bloke, and bloke are interested in things, rather than all the social stuff and talking about feelings. Not that that's any better, when this scene literally makes no sense.
You summoned me, father. No.
Now, to be fair, it was off to quite a funny start. You summoned me? No. Piss off. The thing is, it gets worse.
He did.
Anatar summoned you. The only thing is, I've seen this show, and I don't know why. He knows that the dwarf is against him, and so you think, okay, this must be some political wrangling. He must have summoned him in the rooms for a specific No, he didn't. He tells the king Eregion is under threat of invasion. We need Mithril in order to make the rings so we can save ourselves. And I could offer you many things. Wood, so that you could expand your mines and secure your people.
Or perhaps Khazad-dûm would prefer something more precious.
He said precious! My precious! He faded!
Perhaps we'd be wise to discuss this first in private.
The only thing that guy is going to do is argue against him, so unless there's some political reason for him to be in the room, you don't want him in the room. All he will do is harm your argument. Show hasn't thought about that, though.
There's nothing to discuss. I've already decided.
The king just turns him down anyway. What did he contribute to the conversation? Absolutely nothing. Why did Sauron invite an enemy into the room with him? Absolutely no reason whatsoever. Lots of this show, they do things without seeming to have any kind of thought as to why.
The answer is no.
Of course, that makes him happy, although all is not what it seems. Because Anatar, he leaves after seeing a Balrog in the fire. I remember. But the king is just negotiating with him. Don't worry, they'll be back, and they'll be back with more. There's war across the land, and whoever owns the Mithril will win. We can make money from their disaster.
Father, take off the ring.
At this point, I fully expected him to go, but it's my precious. I thought it was coming. Instead, no, that's just Celebrimbor and Sauron, and Miriel, and Elindur, and Poppy and Nobody, and Medania, and Isildur, and some murderous Mordor wench. I don't know how I can name so many shipping people in one series, and I still think I'm missing some. The king, though, can't relinquish the ring, and refuses to take it off for him.
I have nothing to prove to you, boy.
Well, I mean, you could prove to him your parenting strategies. That'd probably be interesting in the show. That's what I'm talking about. He just went, and the guy flies across the room. Get your dweeb hands off my jewelry. Jorin won't be touching Jorin's ring. We're related. My favourite thing is with his spiky hair, he actually looks like he stuck a fork in a plug socket and got fired across the room. It's like, pfft. Deezer, hearing this though, comes up with the best idea she's ever had.
We'll lay our bodies in front of that mine ourselves if we have to.
You have to. Go and do it, love. This is your only chance.
He'd called the whole army down on us.
Yes. What else did you think lay our bodies down in front of the cave meant? It meant we will be willing to die for this cause because it's so important.
If he's so enthralled to that ring, he'd turn his troops on his own son.
I mean, at first, this does sound like a really selfless speech.
It'll show every dwarf in Khazad-dûm he's no longer fit to rule.
We're going to go there, lay down our bodies, and the army are going to absolutely annihilate us. We will sacrifice ourselves for our people. Our martyrdom will lead them to overthrow an evil king and save everybody. I'm here for it.
They'll take his crown.
How can you talk about him this way?
What? What do you mean, how can you talk about him this way? 5 seconds ago, you said...
He'd called the whole army down on us.
How'd you go from that to...
Can you talk about him this way?
My father will call the army on me and kill me. I don't know how you can talk about him like that, love. Just because he would send the army to kill me doesn't mean that you can badmouth him. This makes no sense.
Talking about humiliating him.
What? You were talking about him killing you. Him killing you worse than you humiliating him. I think you should be more concerned about whether you need to die in order to humiliate him.
About destroying him.
Yes, because he's about to kill you. He's about to destroy you. Caesar tells him, though, we've got to do it. It's our only chance to save our people. Otherwise, him and that ring will destroy everybody. And as you'd expect, from the next in line to the throne, the king, Durin himself. The dwarves, known for their strong masculinity. There's only one thing he could do in this scenario.
Durin, I can't do it.
Cry in front of his wife. I mean, she's already laid out the plan for him. She did everything except get him dressed. She's also the only person between them that has a spine and definitely wears the trousers. What is that? No, I'm so femme-coded, I'm gonna have a little cry. There's only really one benefit from this scene, one good thing that does make me think that improved Rings of Power in Season 2, and that is that they definitely gave the women beards in this season. But how can you tell the female dwarves? They're the ones crying their eyes out.
I can't do it.
I've been eating too much avocados on toast and my tea levels have dropped through the floor.
If we don't act now, we'll never reach it.
And could you please stop crying? You're giving me the ick.
He'll destroy himself and take this kingdom with him.
Yeah, but don't laugh at him.
How can you talk about him this way?
Talking about humiliating him?
Can't humiliate him, that's a touch too far. Look, he may kill all the dwarfs, but you can't take the piss out of him. Together, though. Well, I say together. Deezer, after informing him that this is their only chance, otherwise he'll destroy everybody. Finally, the crying baby agrees. Now, as Elendil is in prison, for some reason they thought they'd, make him suffer even more. This has got to be against the Geneva Convention or something, subjecting you to her. It's like, I'm his daughter. Yeah, but you're why I'm in here, you insufferable cow. She tells him, though, all you have to do is kneel before my master, and he will let you free. Pharazôn is a loving god.
It is hardly mercy to ask a man to set his integrity aflame.
Yes, integrity, that thing you wouldn't know anything about, love.
Everything this family has lost, I cannot lose you two.
You're the one who's killing him, love. You can't say, I can't believe you're gonna die. But you're the one who put his head in the guillotine. Oh, but I didn't realise if I'd stopped listening to men, bad things had happened. I thought I had IQ.
Please, Father.
And so, because he won't listen to her, she's really left with only one option to convince him. I just need you to swallow your pride, because she's incapable of understanding anybody else's worldview.
If after all this, all you see is pride, then there are no words left for us to speak.
Based economy.
This scene could only have been better if he just got ahead and started smashing it into the pillar. Now is my time to escape. I shall pick the lock to my chains with your bones. But as she realizes that he's too clever to listen to her, she realizes she only has one chance in order to get him to change his mind. Only one thing can control such a Chad.
King said you'd say that. Said your hatred for him had become hatred for me.
I like Pharazôn, I think is great. My hatred for you is entirely original.
And I begged with my tongue to the dust for the chance to give to her.
You turned your back on your father, got him locked in prison. At this point, I don't think he cares what you do with your tongue. Using it on Pharazôn is far better than what Galadriel's doing with hers.
She's a disgrace.
Instead, no, we bring in Muriel. I don't know why. I wouldn't listen to her either. Does this really strike you as the makings of a great leader? Could barely walk in the room.
You do not belong in this place.
She's blind. She doesn't even know where she is. Just hang up an air freshener and tell her she's in a forest. Instead, though, she commands him to bow to Pharazôn. You must surrender. He says, I cannot deny you, because if I did, I would not be the man that you wish to save. My heart cannot surrender to cowardness.
What of my heart?
Oh, that's why she came here. That's the real reason. He's on death row, and she wanted to find out if the sea is always right one more time.
The sea is always right!
If it is the will of the Valar,
at least she's crying and not him, to be honest. That is an improvement.
and my life be spared, then it will be.
He has faith, though, that the Valar will save him and the sea monster won't eat his face off. And so, as his daughter watches...
The sea is always right.
The sea is always right!
They get squelchy. Back in Khazad-dûm, as the dwarves go to mine more mithril, they find Deezer awaiting them. And look, I've made jokes myself. None of them are as insulting as what he says.
So please move, otherwise I've no choice but to see you moved.
She's not that big, mate. You can mine around her. He's talking as if she blocks the entire wall. Look, how are we supposed to get past that, eh? Somebody bring in a JCB. It's gonna be a big day. Deezer, though, has one of the most bizarre plans ever. I mean, just sounds like one of those retreats where they pay to let all of their emotions out. The thing is, it's actually worse than you imagine.
Is that meant to frighten us off?
No, of course. They need something more than just an annoying wench to scare them off. And that comes in the shape of...
They are.
Bats. The thing is, the bats aren't even attacking them. They're just bats. Deeza's actually lucky she doesn't create the next Batman here. All they have to do, though, is just drop to the ground, the bats will fly over them. There's no problem. Instead, they literally run off screaming in the direction the bats are going, so they're actually in the bats for longer. It's one of the worst plans ever, wouldn't work, just go on the floor. They're not hurting you. They want to avoid you. That's why they're avoiding her. She's out of their line of flight.
I love you.
Yeah, but why? It was a stupid plan and it wouldn't have worked. Oh, but we wrote it in the script.
They'll be back, and there'll be more of them.
I don't know why they don't come back now. All the bats have gone. Over to a scene now that, seriously, it just reminds me of the Acolyte.
He steps forward with the sunlight accentuating his taut muscles.
We even get to see somebody's horn. Thing is, as they're about to throw Elendil in, Muriel demands to be swapped out. The crime was committed in her name, and so she can actually stand trial for him. Apparently, it's all above board, and so they swap them out. And quite frankly, this is the single best thing that could have happened. We get to save Elendil and drown Muriel, or have her eaten by a sea creature.
Throbbing.
Pharazôn is just like piling up the wins. And the stupid thing is, Elendil could stop all of this anytime he wants just by bowing to Pharazôn, because then no crime has been committed and it's all been forgiven. And he can say, I won't do that because I'll only bow to the true ruler of Numenor, which is Muriel. But when Muriel dies, Pharazôn will be the true ruler, so you'd have to bow to him anyway. The only thing Elendil is doing here is murdering her, as far as he's aware in this circumstance anyway. As the sun on his back glistened off her taut muscles, she sits in the pool. Feels good, doesn't it, to hold one in your hands again? I mean, I'm here for it. The sea creature drags her down to the bottom of the ocean. And as she's stuck there, just kind of floating in a tentacle, either she's dead or about to get Japanese entertainment. Instead, the sea creature swims up to her, stares at her. And I was ready to congratulate this episode on their best decision ever.
The Valar have deemed her...
They always know how to ruin a good time in this show.
innocent!
She survived! I'm like, no, she survived! Every time we get a chance to trim down some of the cast so we can focus on something that matters, they just bring them back to life again. This then drives Pharazôn to use the Palantir himself. I need to see the future in order to save my city.
You have failed this city!
He sees fire. Resembles the Eye of Sauron, Mordor, and Sauron himself, or Halbrand before Galadriel made him evil.
I have been searching for my peace for longer than you know. For both our sakes, let me keep it.
That was probably a mistake, wasn't it? Yeah. How has Sauron become so powerful that he can now communicate across the Palantir when he's just in a Region talking to Celebrimbor? I don't know. I have no idea.
Yes, Halbrand is Sauron.
Yeah, apparently all that happened in the middle of the Adar conversation. Maybe they stopped for tea, you know. They started to cut the crusts off sandwiches and stuff to kill time while all the events in the rest of the world happened. At no point did she go, "Hey Adar, how did you know Halbrand was Sauron?" But Galadriel, in her incredible amount of intellect, just spills her entire guts about everything that's happened. Sauron's in there to make rings to control every kind. Elrond is coming down with an army of elves and my ring in order to wipe him out.
And that gives us momentary advantage. Unlock me.
Bend me over the table, Adar. You're evil. It's the only thing that can seduce me.
Exactly what you needed. The lost king who could ride you to victory.
How am I supposed to let you ride me to victory while I'm chained up, Adar? Unless you're into that kind of thing. So Galadriel's plan is Elrond arrives with the army, seals off the city, and then puts Sauron to the torch.
You and I will eradicate all trace of Sauron from this world.
What are you gonna do? Engulf him whole?
Never to return.
Guess so. It's the only way we can be sure of impregnation. Adar, though, realizes the elves will never let the orcs return in peace because they're basically evil savages that just want everything else to die. They're a warlike species that go around constantly invading people and killing them for absolutely no reason whatsoever because they're scum.
We proceed with plans to invade Mordor.
And so he should. The only way to deal with an orc is at the end of a sword.
The shadow has not only overcome you, it has overcome all elfendom.
He seems to think because the elves want to eradicate evil, that makes them evil. It's like, no one really cares what you think. Also, I'm not sure why you released her just to tell her this, to be honest. He says your virtue is what Sauron is using against you. You will fulfill his plan because of it.
You speak lies, and I will reveal something.
You have already revealed everything.
True. She did tell him the entire plan, including where her Ring of Power was. And but so, they march out into the orc encampment, and he shows her his entire army. I don't just have a single legion here. Look, we've CGI'd loads of torches down there.
Now that you have confirmed beyond any doubt who he is, the Region will fall.
Yeah, but why? The only reason you know where Sauron is because Halbrand told you, which somewhere along the way you worked out that Halbrand is Sauron. So the only reason you're attacking a Region is because Sauron told you to attack a Region, and you're going to attack a Region because you don't like Sauron. How does this make sense? Why are you following the plans of the guy that you don't like? I'm gonna do what you tell me because I hate you that much. I'm gonna follow your plan because it'll be the end of you. What? And it only gets worse because he's already said that Galadriel is following Sauron's plan when he's following Sauron's plan.
This must be what he wants.
Yes. Everybody knows this is what Sauron wants. Adar knows this is what Sauron wants because Sauron told him it's what he wants. Sauron told him the plan.
Sauron has no army of his own, so he has lured yours here instead.
Yes, but Adar already knows that too. Adar knew that Halbrand was Sauron when Halbrand was still in his pissing custody. So as he was telling him that he needed to come here, Adar let him go so he could come here to chase the guy which he had in his custody that he only let go because he told him he was over here. This might be the most stupid plot ever created by human hands.
He wants you to attack a Region.
He already knows. Sauron told him he wanted to attack a Region.
Do not be a fool. Do not do this. Do not take his law.
I will make him choke on it.
How? You know this is what Sauron wants. You knew it when he was in your custody, so you let him go so you could chase him here, so you could kill him over here, rather than when he was in your custody. Oh, I'm losing brain cells just thinking about it.
This is all his design.
He knows. So they go and attack a Region for absolutely no reason whatsoever, except we're following the orders of Sauron. They pull up all their siege machines, and the elves realize they're under attack, despite the fact that they already knew they were under attack. We're under attack! I don't know why you're so panicked. They already knew that the orcs were across the river getting ready to attack. We're under attack! Yeah, you knew that, mate. The biggest question is, why are you not already prepared for it? Sauron sees what he's caused, and for some reason is really happy, despite the fact that the rings aren't made yet. His plan is really awful. And you still come down to the question, why? Because he's not attacking a Region for the rings. If he just waited, he would have got the rings anyway. Sauron, though, decides to cut open his own palm. Celebrimbor is designing more incredibly ugly rings, and he hears the disaster outside.
How fares your progress?
Why are we being invaded outside? Everyone's screaming, mate. Sauron, though, reassures him that the affairs are all in order. And for once, Celebrimbor, he gathers a bit of a spine. He doesn't trust him. There's something going on here.
I've had quite enough of you telling me where I belong!
Yeah, first he gets defeated by a few orcs, now he gets defeated by a granny, Sauron, emasculated to his core. To be fair, he hasn't been able to sit down for the last few months. He is knackered.
Unhand me.
This isn't the bedroom now, Sauron. Sauron threatens him, though. If you leave this tower now, I will make sure everyone in the seen and unseen world know that it is you that led to their demise.
We still have 9 rings to forge.
Celebrimbor don't care. He don't need no man. He's a strong, independent woman. Sauron remembers the fun that him and Celebrimbor have had in their back rooms together.
Ride you to victory.
Celebrimbor leaves the tower and everything's fine. All happy and wonderful. There's animals going around. There's kids laughing and pets being walked in the street on leashes. Everything's fine. No one runs up to him during all of this and goes, Celebrimbor, we need your orders. Nope, he sees nothing. Sauron comes down, though. The Valar didn't need you. I needed you, Celebrimbor.
Ride you to victory. And without Mithril, I.
And Celebrimbor immediately breaks. Well, I can't forge the rings you want, not without more Mithril. But don't worry, Sauron's got that sorted as well. You didn't need to see how he got it. Just assume that he got it somehow. Yes, it's all fixed now.
Mithril ore, refined to a powder by Narvi himself.
It's clearly not a powder. Like, we can all see that's not a powder, right?
From the purest deposit yet found in their minds.
Well, it may have been the purest they've found before I poured my entire hand blood into it. No doubt that'll be why they say that the ring race came from the men. Because rather than just touching the mithril like he did for the dwarves, now in this, he put his actual body into them.
We are close now, Celebrimbor. So close.
Oh, you've said that to him before. Achieve my master plan, Brimbor! He reassures old Brim, though, that when the history of this age is written, the Silmarils will be nothing compared to the power. Your rings.
They will be deemed the most precious.
He said precious again? Twice in one episode, we have been blessed by the almighty script authors. He did it precious. I'm surprised he didn't say, these rings, they are my precious. I mean, if you're going to do it, at least go whole hog with it, like you do with Brimbor. And so as Brimbor has entirely turned his attitude around because he walked outside and got told to, I will not listen to you, or just do whatever you tell me. These scenes back to back are like whiplash. He goes inside to forge the rings, which can't take long because he actually doesn't have long before the city falls. And we find Sauron reveals the truth. We see all the happy people, every single nation in the same place, because why would you want a place to look recognizable when it can just look like London? Although it's not quite comparable because a region being invaded by orcs still has less stabbings. Yes, the truth is revealed. People are running around screaming, and Celebrimbor was just standing in front of them having a nice little chat. No one ran up to him for some reason. The music of Sauron. This is why when everyone's like, he's just a hero in his own... No, he isn't. He knows he's a villain. He knows he's evil. He knows he's evil because everyone around him is screaming and about to die. Evil people know they're evil. There are such things as evil people, and Sauron is one of them. He's the hero of his own... No, he isn't! Especially when he's walking through the screaming people who are about to be killed, smirking. And so, as evil Barbie walks up to the wall to observe the invading army, he raises his arms like an orchestra.
He kind of raises his hands.
Yes.
And this was so important, they felt the need to tell you about it. And an idea this amazing can only come from one person.
And JD goes, what if he's like an orchestra conductor? What if you like heard the orchestra like tuning up? And I was like, you mean literally?
And just in case you didn't get it, we need to hammer it home.
It's literally telling you he has conducted the events that are unfolding.
And my only thought is, no, he didn't. He didn't conduct any of this. He didn't plan any of this. He just went from Mordor to here and then spoke to Celebrimbor for a bit. He's basically the luckiest person alive because all of his plans just happen to come true while he doesn't do anything. Generally down to the stupidity of the people involved. As the orcs, though, line up their siege engines. Why would they do this? Don't they just want peace? They're just good people who want to look after their own nuclear families. That's where they're lighting the siege weaponry. Galadriel's still chained up, and oh, bet that gives her flashbacks to her favourite times with Sauron. It was a long and lonely journey from Numenor to Mordor. They had to find some way to pass the time on the boats. We see the trebuchet. They zoom through the sky, and at this point, Celebrimbor must be thinking, it's quite loud out there, isn't it? Yeah. Why is there 5 suns in the sky? It's nighttime. That's gotta sting. Now, I have to say, this episode was a step up from whatever the last one was. Still had a load of crap Numenorian stuff, but at least that was drastically cut down. The issue is, it was replaced by just stupid plans. Adar's plan makes literally no sense the moment he knows that Hellbrand is Sauron. As now he's just following Sauron's instructions, knowing they're his instructions, and it turns out he knew he was Sauron even when he was in custody. Galadriel went from, I need to wipe every orc off the face of the planet, to, I'll just help you and tell you all the information you know. The dwarves managed to scare off miners with some bats that didn't do anything to them. The greed on their rings has been speedrun. He's only had the ring a few days. And the Harfoots started to get their end away just so that Nori can create the Shire. And we find out the stranger has a lot of Gans to choose and no elf to choose him for him. Finally, the main story feels as if it's going somewhere. Despite this series is supposed to be fast-paced and just on from the start, nothing has happened until now. And the next episode is apparently supposed to just be one long battle, the Siege of Eregion. And my deepest question for that episode is, how will Celebrimbor feel when he finds out he's been betrayed by his lover? And let's be honest, even when Anatar is revealed as Sauron, Mordania isn't going to care. She's going to go with him anyway, possibly leading to a battle to the death between Mordania and Galadriel for who gets to bang Sauron. And that is a season finale I can get behind. This was filmed in England in the middle of winter. There's a lot of mud available. But those are just my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know down in the comments below. Like the video if you like the video. Subscribe. More videos like this in the future. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.